bit of it? So I said, I'll do it. So I write the resignation letter, and I send it to him, and he says, oh, this is great, but he'll never sign it. I said, listen, he's coming into town tomorrow, right? You go, you have breakfast, you schmooze, you make nice. I said, you go back and you get everybody to sign off on their package, and just before you sign yours, you go, listen, here's a letter of resignation you asked me to write for you, for me. Would you mind signing it? So he does that, and he calls me back and goes, my God, he loved it. I said, did he sign it? Oh, yeah. I said, I got extra copies. I said, great. The day after the day that they gave him the package, he sent out three resumes. He got 3 offers a day later that started 10 months after he finished that job. So he had 3 offers from companies that were willing to let him start in 10 months. So what did he do? I wish I could turn the mic off. Lazy, took a vacation is what he did. You know, and we went back to work. Sir?
Back to work. Relevancy?
It's not about you. Remember this. If you take nothing home tonight but this, you know how your spouse says, that's not about you. It's about me, or it's about the kids. They're right. It's not about you. And when you're looking for a job, it's the farthest thing from you. We're going to talk about language later, because Kevin's got this stuff down to a science. You know, we'll talk about how we take all the I's out of your resumes, out of your cover letters, turn it around and put them in as U's. You have to figure out how you can help them. You have to be very specific in your marketing tools that we're going to talk about those. I know we're getting to it, but we're going to talk about these in a second. Your marketing tools, your resume, your cover letter, and the other stunts that we'll talk about, and they're not really stunts, they're just sort of marketing gimmicks, have to be focused on them and their needs. Kevin?
Yeah, looking at number 3, why should they hire you? Again, you know, so what? Who cares? Why you?
No. So what? Who cares? Why you?
Sorry, I'm a writer. He's a talker. Okay. You folks are familiar with the concept USP. I've got the remote.
I know you do.
The concept USP. Has anyone ever heard of it? Unique selling proposition. It gets batting about a lot. You ever buy M&Ms? What do? They melt in your mouth,
Bingo.
not your head. FedEx, when it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. I'm dating myself here.
I'd rather fight then.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God there's some smokers here.
Smokers unite. Avis, we try harder because we're number 2. We have to try harder. Hertz was number 1. These are all things that can only be said about those products. So when you think unique selling proposition, think Avis. They're the only company that could have said we're number 2. We try harder. So when it comes to USP, why you and your specific set of infinite skills, infinite variations of dollars you've saved, your bachelor's degree, your master's, the languages you speak, it's all unique. Everybody, you may all be in the VPs of something or other, but you're all utterly unique. And it's got to be coming out in all of your business cards, your 30-second pitches. It's got to be unique. Why you and not somebody else? Not only that, why you and not hiring anybody at all? When they meet you, they've got to want to hire you even if they aren't planning to hire. So when your USP, your unique selling proposition, is that effective, you'll know it when people go, oh. Because my business, when I started, I went through the yellow pages, and all the resumes started with the letter A. I thought, well, that's cute. You know, double A, A1, why? Well, it's to be first in the yellow pages. And I thought, well, and I used to work for FedEx, so I had an
Sorry,
advantage.
he didn't just work for FedEx. He wrote their first website. Not some of it, all of it. Sorry.
Yeah, all 6 pages. I was the webmaster number 2 in 1995. Okay, so FedEx was a client. Anyway, I knew guarantees, and I'm a marketing person. I go, well, no one's ever guaranteed anything. So within about 30 minutes, I came up with guaranteed resumes. Your resume will get hired or your money back. And when I said that on the phone and in the yellow pages, people said, oh. And I knew I had something. And so 12 years later, I had a very good thing. So your USP, the ideal reaction is oh, or wow, or how do you do that? And if that's not what you're hearing after your elevator pitch or after your 5-second pitch, then you need to work on it. So just watch the feedback you get. If people don't say oh or wow or how do you do it, you have work to do. We're harbingers of doom here. We're giving them more work than they planned on.
Mitigating risk, which is what he's talking about, is what it's all about, right? We have bankers in the room. We have insurance people in the room. We have accountants in the room. We mitigate risk. That's how our companies survive. Well, think about the risk. Think about what runs through a hiring manager's head, whether they be in HR or whether they be a VP or whether they be a C-level. What goes through their head? Oh my God, if I hire this guy and it doesn't work out, what happens to the business? What happens to me? So by answering these questions, you give them the information to take all the risk out of the equation on hiring you.
Very good. Resiliency, 5 things. We're big on lists here, folks. The key one here, I think we'll go through them, but follow a plan every day or you'll get discouraged. How many of you folks have ever done a business plan or a marketing plan? Raise your hand. How many of you remember half of it now, even if you did it this week? The value is not in remembering the data, and believe it or not, the value is not in actually following the plan to the letter. The real hidden value in doing a business plan or a marketing plan is the thought process behind it. It forces you to get clear about your competition, about your products, about your company. When you do the kinds of plans that we're talking about here, when you know your job, when you know the market, when you know the problems you're going to solve, when you do the planning, things will fall into place. You can probably put the plan in a drawer and forget it perhaps. You'll still have 80% of the value because it's the thought process behind the plan. And really the main value, I guess, if we have to pick one, is it's something to do every day. Most folks, when they wake up, they don't have, when they're between engagements, they don't have a routine. They wake up and maybe I'll go to Monster, maybe I'll go to Second Cup. I'm not sure. I don't have a routine today. I'm between engagements. But if you script your days in advance, just as you used to do when you were a successful executive, or you do now, follow those same kinds of routines, you have something to do. It's a step-by-step process to follow, and it keeps you from getting discouraged.
It's also important that when you set goals and they're realistic and you hit them, reward yourself. You got to do it. You know, your boss walks in, pats you on the back, says, "Hey, way to go, landed that account." So I don't care how trivial an accomplishment might be. An accomplishment might be making the phone call to someone you've been putting it off. It may be fixing the resume and getting it out. It may be as simple as picking up the phone and making a cold call to an employer that you've agonized over forever. Understand something. Everyone in this room goes through the exact same thing. The emotions are all the same. It even happens in my industry. And I know, get down to talk about pitch and repitch, oftentimes you have to approach an employer multiple times, sometimes multiple ways, sometimes the same guy. And I've talked to people about this and said, well, what about XYZ Corporation? They'd be perfect. Yeah, well, I sent them a resume 2 years ago. Yeah? Well, they didn't want me. Okay, so do you think you might want to send it again, and again, and again, and again, and again? My first job, getting into this industry was not easy. When I went through 13 interviews to get my first gig as a recruiter. It's a long story, it's really boring to everyone but me, but the point, I mean, really it is. But the point is, the final interview, the 13th interview, was at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning in the middle of the summer. I got my best suit on. It's polyester, by the way, because I was way poor back then. It's poly, and I'm sweating like all time. And I knock on the door, and this guy opens the door, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, you told me if I really wanted the," he'd already turned me down 12 times. "If I really wanted the job, I had to be here for an interview at 6 o'clock in the morning." And he said, "Fine, you got the job." Okay, I'm in. Look at me now. It's been a long haul.
Now what?
You got to understand that it's like I took my whole family to the Dominican Republic. Who's ever gone to the islands on vacation? Show of hands. All right, you're all going to get this. So you get to the islands, and you look around, and you can tell all the newbies. Why? Because they're not got a tan. Well, all the natives who are selling stuff can tell you're newbies too. So they walk down the beach and they try to sell you stuff. And on your first day, you go, "No, get these guys out of my face. I just want to get a tan, right?" And the second day, you do the same thing. Wednesday, though, you're going, "Oh my God, I got to buy some suntan lotion. I need a hat. I got to get some souvenirs." So when they come by, you go, "Yeah, I'll take a lotion and give me 2 of those rings and 3 of those things there. And my wife wants some stuff too. Can you come back in half an hour?" Well, what's the difference? The employer says no. Okay, how many headhunters in the room? Hands up. Look around at these guys. How often do you have to pitch? Oh, hold your hands up proudly, guys. Come on. Gee, I'm over here. And by the way, being quiet and discreet is not normally part of our profession, right? I once pulled a guy out of Motorola. It took me 51 phone calls, and by the way, 51 different voicemail messages. Yes, I counted. Yes, I started to write them down after number 4 because I had to remember until I got him. Why did I do this? We were in the middle of making an offer to another candidate. We were in counter offers back and forth with this other candidate because this was a better candidate. I needed to bring him to the table. So I phoned my client up and said, listen, I finally got him. And he goes, great, when the interview? It says, well, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. He says, that's great. What else do I need to know? I said, well, is Marilyn at your door yet? And he goes, yeah, why? Let her in. Why? Because the interview, this is a client in Ottawa, the interview is in Chicago. So you got to leave now. So he did. He flew to Chicago. We closed the guy. We brought him up. We did an IPO. We made about $60 million, not me personally. And it was great. What's the point of this? As a recruiter, I got to pitch and repitch and repitch and repitch and repitch, sometimes until the message is nauseating, sometimes until I don't want to do it anymore. My wife can do these things in her sleep now, right? Because she hears me so many times. You have to learn to do the same thing. You got to understand that no just means not today. Like in the Dominican Republic. No, sorry, not today. No, not today. Tomorrow situations change. If 20 to 25% of people are always in transition, in flux, yeah, I know it's a US statistic again. What does that mean? That means out of a company of 100, 25 of them ain't going to be there pretty soon. So you have to keep going over this ground over and over again. And when someone says no, put them in the file for next week. Send them another resume. Change the resume. If you're focused and you know you can do that job, it's just a matter of time before you grind them down to the point where they're going to want to talk to you.